Well, hello! Once again, you have found a Texas Steampunk Connection, broadcasting to you throughout the multiverse Steamverse from our various bunkers and airships. With me, as always, is Thax, Gentleman Adventurer.
Hello, hello.
With me is Jack from Steam Chest.
Hello.
And we have with us today, Master Blue Stocking from Steampunk Dollhouse Podcast. So once again, we are here to talk, probably about steampunk, most likely, because that's what this is about. Thank you for listening to the Texas Steampunk Connection.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We have already been joined by our friends Mick, Kristen, Kitty, and Rita. And thank you. We are looking forward to another great show tonight. Let's see. What's happened this last 2 weeks? I did recover from my COVID.
Yay!
My good lady wife then got it, and as of today, she's recovered from it too. So we got the lightest, friendliest version of COVID, which is awfully nice.
If you're gonna get it,
the something 5 version, I think, which is going around now.
Yeah.
We're just, it's now to the point where it's so disseminated that there's no like direct cool chain names anymore.
Just wasn't worth it.
It's such a subvariant of a subvariant of a subvariant that's changing too quickly. It's not a main variant. It's not the Castilian variant yet or something.
But now a much more dangerous thing is in the air, what we call ragweed.
duh.
Oh, I was thinking pox, but yeah, ragweed's pretty bad.
Oh yeah, the monkeypox is.
And the poison ivy is no good either. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kind of
You're supposed to stop snorting that, Dax. That's not good for you.
I know.
legalize.
Make better
This
life
is so
choices.
Hello, Nicole.
Hey.
Yeah, monkeypox. I don't think that is down here in Texas in any large quantity yet. But my mother called me and asked me about it and was worried about, using toilets behind somebody else who might have had it. And I said, "No, Mom, no, it's nothing like that. You're just fine."
No, but a couple of kids have shown up with it, and so now we're going to end up with another satanic panic where any queer people who work around children and the children get it, we're going to end up with. It's already starting.
That isn't how it works.
Okay, but how often do the facts matter?
Right.
Do you remember the satanic panic?
Welcome to Texas.
Nerds
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
D&D.
I remember. And the AIDS pandemic.
Yeah,
Much
yeah,
more,
exactly.
to the point.
Yeah.
People were afraid of being in near proximity to anyone gay because they didn't know if they had it, and that's not even how it worked. And so since they're talking about it, let's just be clear: you can only get monkeypox from intimate contact, which isn't necessarily having sex with that person.
It's fluid
But
exchange.
it's pretty much having sex with that person. You can still shake hands with people with monkeypox and not get it. In normal day-to-day interaction, you are not going to get it. So relax.
We do have research facilities on this side of Bastrop that use monkeys.
I don't think that's what you can't get it that way either. Stop. You're not helping me.
We're not spreading this information about health issues. No.
Just don't pet monkeys right now. It's okay. Just stay right out. Just no monkeys jumping on beds.
I do not want us to get flagged for medical disinformation, please.
Don't trust anything I say.
Oh, we
This
don't.
is pretty much the episode not to ever trust anything I say. Of the episodes, I have very little for input here on what's going on other than, this is very interesting. But,
Another interesting thing happened this 2 weeks ago, just after the last show came out. Do you remember, or do you remember hearing about the Lo-Fi Girl YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
You know what that is? Okay, Blue Stocking does not.
It's
It's
vaguely
this
familiar, but
channel. It live streams
So
lo-fi, hip hop, study,
it
background
was
music that you
it
can
was one of the first channels. I'm sorry. I'm gonna shut up.
What?
Continue.
No,
I was my brain was at war to like not cut you off. And
what
it was
happens when you
it was
put
losing.
3 people with ADHD together?
no, that's more or less on point. It's streamed continuously for the last 2 years with just sort of chill lo-fi background music to study to or chill to. And there's this picture of this sort of anime girl at her desk with her cat looking out the window and just sort of loops.
Okay, that I. Okay.
Let's back up, by the way.
The story is YouTube took that channel down because of a bunch of DMCA takedown orders claiming that someone else owned the rights to said music, and that you know the story. Oldest story ever told on YouTube. They were taken down because of DMCA claims, and they were all bogus, false claims, and it all resolved. YouTube brought her back up after some conversation. But the fact that any old fool can come over and claim music from your YouTube channel and cause you distress and headaches and crap.
Mm-hmm.
I bring up the story because we were also taken down, like not the whole show, but our opening sequence you just heard, like within an hour of us completing the program last 2 weeks ago. It was bizarre. I thought this had to be some sort of, and this is by Facebook, not YouTube, but this had to be some sort of automatic computer generated thing, because no one would act that quickly, I would think. And no one's
So
listened
you're right. What happens is that when you go live on these things, there's an algorithm comparing all the audio to an entire library of other audio, which sounds a lot more like insane than it honestly is, because certain pattern recognition is really easy for algorithms. And so someone at some point, some company or some rogue company who claiming to be a company that was legitimate, basically went through Zapsplat.com's library, downloaded all their music, uploaded it, saying, basically giving it to Facebook, saying, "Here is our library.
That's mine.
If anyone
That's mine.
violates this,
That's
we
mine."
get money." Yeah, and then when you actually like fight it, you're like, "Oh, you know what? We don't actually own this." But in that period of time, if someone like a few 100,000 people watch that show, and it's violated like that, a lot of that money just gets dumped immediately over to them with no questions asked. And then same thing with YouTube. And so people like me, as like a YouTube creator who really doesn't care, I don't make any money, but if you get too many hits using that kind of stuff, you can be completely removed from from YouTube. So I use like tiny slices. Like my coolest one was I used like the entire scene from Die Hard in a cut where they're robbing the bank in the Nakatomi Plaza, and it opens up and it has Ode to Joy playing, and all the criminals are like having the blast. Well, I overlaid game footage on top of it and had the music cut every now and then, so it wasn't perfect. It was like 2.5 minutes, and I got flagged by Fox, which I'm like, oh god, I'm done. I'm just done. And they're like, this is not owned by you. And I'm like, yeah, but this is obviously, like I have all this stuff going on. It's cut, it's overlaid. I'm not showing the movie. I'm being funny about it. 30 days later, I won my first legal battle with Fox. So
Nice.
Wow.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that's why I decided I was going to use snippets from the audiobook snippets for the books I'm going to be using in my dissertation. But that's why I decided. What?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to do that.
You still have they're just now checking it, so you're good to go. But yeah, that's why I decided to use voiceover people to read the quotes instead, so that we can kind of get around that, because I don't have time to mess with that, not with my dissertation. But Thax did a wonderful job. I cannot wait for y'all to hear it. And also my friend Selena just turned in hers, also excellent. So yeah, y'all are doing a great job. Just, 3 more to roll.
Teacher, can I turn in can I get mine turned in for full credit still?
All assignments will be due July 31st.
Okay. Yeah. I'll need you to resend me that quote, because I got to stream so far up the phone now.
Okay, I'll resend it to you.
Happy ending to the story is I contested the challenge. I wrote a little note to Facebook. It's like, here's where I got the music. It is free as long as I mention their website. There is the page on their website saying you should do it. Here is the part of the show where I did it. What do you want from me? And they put it back up within 24 hours, which is faster than I expected to hear.
Yeah, it's a lot faster.
Yeah, YouTube's 3 days, and you just don't care.
Is it possible for someone to submit a report, just like an individual, say someone didn't like you?
Oh yeah,
personal level. So some individuals can submit.
I'm actually putting in one on us right now.
I'm just wondering if there's somebody out there who doesn't like us and maybe decided to,
Oh, we know that person. We know.
I didn't know. I'm just saying.
I don't think we have anybody who doesn't like us who would.
No, I think we're the golden children. Everyone loves us. There's nothing wrong with any of us. We are perfect. We are destined to be the best steampunk podcast on the internet. We just need to get the word out. Everyone.
I mean, we're one of the only ones left, so there's not many.
We have stood the test of time. We have defeated everyone.
There can be only one.
It's notably at the top.
You guys drinking anything tonight? I see a Corona.
Yep.
And oh my lord, some cheap champagne. Are you celebrating?
That what that is?
So yeah, it's champagne. It's Monty. It's great stuff.
You just drink it straight out of the bottle.
So,
$5 for an entire bottle or something. It's fantastic.
And I have something new. There was a sale at the grocery, and I've got peanut butter and jelly squeeze.
What?
Have you had that before?
No. Another peanut butter.
By Prairie Artisan Ales out of Oklahoma. And it is purple and cloudy and very berry. It's a sour beer with raspberries, blackberries, something that's... I don't get a lot of peanut butter, which is good because I don't think I would like that anyway. But it's a fruity berry beer. So that's cool. I can recommend if you like sours.
I feel like you've had peanut butter and jelly beer before.
We have had I have had a peanut butter beer before, and I thought it was weird. But it was a sale.
Sale beer is the best beer.
It was low risk,
Oh, look. Megan Higgins says everyone likes us.
Aw.
Thanks, Megan.
We're great.
Thanjust Megan.
Wait, I don't have my button.
Campbell
I
says-
can't make that pop up on the screen. I was going to make that pop up on the screen, but that's fine. There we go. We're so professional.
This is a professional operation here.
Oh, man.
Professional.
We even pay for our programs.
So Deborah K. Campbell just posts Victorian manners ?
We're getting
Which we're getting to. All right, let's get into it.
Where's our manners?
There was a suggestion last episode, at the end of the episode, that we could be discussing the sexual mores of Victorian England. It was Bootstocking suggestion, so I hope she knows something about it.
Okay, so keep in mind, I'm a librarian. My specialty is libraries and fiction. So I just, like I said, it's stuff that I studied in my undergrad because my focuses were English and history. So I covered the Gilded Age. I do
She
a lot
did
of,
not enjoy it at all.
I loved it actually. That 4 semesters, it was the long 19th century, the same Professor Travis. Dr. T was amazing. And he would at the beginning of every class, he would go around to everybody and ask, like on the first day of class, ask who they were, what they were doing there. And I, introduced myself and I said, this is the 3rd time I've taken you. And he said, good Lord, don't you know there's other classes? And he was amazing.
Good Lord, I still haven't turned you off yet?
Well, when I took him, the second time I took him, my hair had been really long and I had cut it over the summer. And so when he got to me that time, he was like, you look familiar. Why do you look different? I said, because I cut off like 13 inches of hair. He said, looks good. Next person. I was like, okay.
We gotta streamline this situation. I know you already.
He was
An extra bump of Coke today. Let's go.
He was like 75 years old. And he was a few years. Yeah, he wrote he was one of the ones that wrote my recommendation for one of my recommendations for library school. He was excellent. He was, yeah. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know and a lot of things that made me cry. So good class. Good class.
Well, I hope we get the first list here tonight. Maybe a little the second. Where to start?
That's what we were talking about earlier. It's such a heavily layered subject because the opinion, and you and I, Thax, were talking about that this week, that the overriding opinion that everybody has is that Victorians were highly sexually repressed. That's not really the case. It was just, like I said, layers and layers of meaning and strata and what women were, not just women who had women in the nobility. And we've got to remember that nobility doesn't necessarily mean kings and counts and dukes. Ladies, lords, minor nobility, anyone from that strata where who you married was vitally important. It was nice if you liked the person you were marrying. It was great if you loved them. Didn't really matter depending on who had the money and who could raise whose social standing. So I think that's where a lot of the opinions about repressed Victorian women comes from, because they were likely marrying men that they not actively hated, but probably didn't know very well, were probably older than them. And their job was to keep the house and have the babies, which is where the cults of motherhood comes from. And that was in Victorian England, and that was in Gilded Age America too, where it was the Madonna whore complex. It was, you were pure, you had to have the babies, but outside of that, you were that. And actually, there was a poem that was written about it in 1854, and it was expanded on through 1862, called "The Angel in the House," which extolled the virtues. Let me see if I can copy it extolled the virtues of the women. See, I can't. It makes me log in to leave comments. So hang on, I'm going to drop it into the message, and when y'all can post it. So women were expected to do everything. They were, support their household. They kept everything running. They had the heir and the spare, and a daughter maybe that could bring an advantageous marriage. But I don't know. Where do we want? Like I said, I don't really know where to jump in and go from here. It's kind of.
Well, okay. Well, let's start at. I hit a few documentaries and a few presentations, so I'm certainly not as well studied as you, but it's fresh in my mind. And we can start with Queen Victoria herself, and how she was very young when she came to the throne, and the first thing they thought of was, we need to get her married off.
Mm-hmm.
And they found there wasn't a lot of good choices.
But apparently the choice was right. She loved
they found some little backwaters German aristocrat, someone in the proper
weight class.
social
Yeah, but
standing.
also low enough that he wouldn't get he wouldn't have not the backbone, but he wouldn't try to take over and become king. That's also the important thing. Yeah.
Right. And they wheeled him out to meet her. I mean, everything was pretty, honestly, this is what we're trying to make happen. And she took one look at Albert when he came in and said, "Oh, yeah, that's the guy. Oh, he's cute as a button. Let's get it on."
I mean, basically, yeah, she
And
loved
and
him.
really, it was a fairy tale story for them, that they truly fell in love with each other, despite the Victorian rules of etiquette and the social mores of the. Is it right to say the gentry? I know that was a Regency word.
I think. Like I said, I know some things. This is not the area that I specifically studied, so I know a few things, but I mean, that's easy enough to find out.
But
people of good social standing. Oh, they're the people below the nobility in position and birth.
Okay, so we're definitely talking about the nobility here, but the rules would apply in both of those strata. But they loved each other, and they love to love each other, which is great. I mean, that's as human beings, that's what we all hope for, and not often find, especially in Victorian noble rules. But so they like to do it, and they had a lot of babies as a result.
Mm-hmm.
And so the populace, England loved her because she was extolling all the principles that they believed to be in the highest regard. And now everybody else, nobility and gentry, that are following those same rules are frustrated because it's not working out so well most of the time. That this fairy tale relationship is a fairy tale for most people.
Yeah, it's not realistic for people who are not in that weight class.
And there's no divorce. There's no birth control for people of that weight class, as you say. There were condoms, but those were for sailors. You know, that's not something you bring to the queen. So,
I mean, there were methods, but none of them were, obviously reliable until modern science got involved. And like I said, things that are still practiced now, like the rhythm method, doesn't necessarily work, but there were some ways. But that's also, I think, like I said, some of the stuff that I was reading, that's where the ideas of, the separate chambers comes from, that she, the wives will do what's expected of them, and then that's it. But like I said, and Rita, yeah, you're right. It was, love matches were not as common. But yes,
love marriages were not as common. If you take my meaning,
love in marriage was not as common. It was, and sometimes it did develop. It could develop over time. There are stories where that happened. It wasn't completely unheard of that they would find a measure of happiness or a balance with what they were doing, but for women, and actually for women of most classes, marriage was what you needed to be safe. And this is what Jane Austen wrote about. You needed marriage to be safe and secure, because especially if you were minor nobility, working outside the home wasn't really a thing for you. If you were a woman who had an education, you couldn't get married, or you didn't want to get married, positions like governess were available. An educated woman could find a position as a governess in a good home and be there until the children didn't need her anymore, which could be, 10, 15 years, just depending on how long they needed it, until the boys got sent off to, a private school, and the girls probably they were educated in the feminine arts, but also education for women wasn't entirely unheard of. It did absolutely happen. It happened in a lot of places, and it was getting better, but it was there was so much going on in this period because women's suffrage was becoming an issue, and inheritance laws were becoming an issue because women could lose out on property if there were no men in if there were no brothers to keep the property. Then it could be gone. That was the whole. I mean, Downton Abbey's later; it's Edwardian era, but that was the whole thing behind Downton Abbey. They had to find someone that would keep it in the family because they had all girls. So actually that shows a good example of the wealthy daughters, American daughters, who were married to the penniless British men with titles. And I can't remember the name of the book, but there was an entire register of titled eligible bachelors that was available. I cannot remember the name of the book now. Maybe somebody that's listening can remember. It was like an almanac of available men with titles that you could look at and see who was looking for a wife. Because that was, and if you think about it, for Gilded Age, for robber barons to get their daughters married off to men with titles like that, it was a legitimacy. It legitimized what they did, and it gave those men money that they needed. So,
since we're talking about the precarious position of gentried women with no husbands, I think it's an interesting side note that in America, not in the upper classes, but in the lowest of classes, women were finding they could make and keep their fortunes, and they didn't need a man.
Yeah,
It's a very, very wealthy, successful women of the night coming out of California during the gold rush. They'd get up on stage and do their show, and people would throw gold nuggets at them, and suddenly they had wealth and power within the small circle of their influence
within their
able
circle.
to build towns effectively on the wealth that they were able to acquire.
But
it's just a fascinating contrast.
Yeah, but it was also a very precarious position because it was built on the foundation of sex work is illegal, immoral, however they viewed it, and who do you have to pay off to keep your place going, and who is frequenting your establishment that is going to help you ensure that you are going to stay in business, because the right person starts frequenting that place. Obviously you can't take, you didn't have pictures, you didn't have recordings, but you still had some proof that could keep you where you were. But if you made if a woman running one of those establishments made the wrong step, that was, if you're lucky, you could get your stuff thrown in a wagon and get out of town. And one thing, and actually that also, I'm not sure about the laws here in America, but I know for British women, even if they independently did have money, once they got married, that was it. It wasn't theirs anymore. They had property. It was gone.
Right. Any work you did within the bounds of marriage, that went to your husband.
Straight to him. Yep. Straight to him. And once, if God willing, you had at least one son, because once your husband's gone, that's who's going to take care of you, as you get older. You need the family to take care of you, because God forbid they do it on their own. And there were plenty of independent women who were able to. And I think also part of it is there may have been a certain level where you hit a certain level of nobility that it didn't matter, because Anne Lister, she's the character that Gentleman Jack is based on. She was a very real person in the mid 1800s, and she was gay in a time when if you were gay, if you were a woman and you were queer, you didn't tell anybody. You kept it to yourself. But she just lived her life. She lived her life. She wore what she wanted to wear. She, flirted. She seduced. And then she fell in love. Well, there's some question over that, but she decided she wanted a wife, and she found one, and they got married. It's considered the first lesbian wedding when she married Ann Walker.
Where was this?
This was in, oh geez, I've watched the show enough. I can't remember the name of the town now.
Was it in America or?
No, this is in Britain. Like I said,
Wow.
the woman's name is Ann Lister. If you haven't watched Gentleman Jack, highly recommend. There was a whole song that was written about her after she died. And the character that plays her the actress that plays her is excellent. But it's a true story. And the reason Ann Lister is so fascinating is because her diaries were written in code. So she could encode, because she was not shy about writing diary entries about her conquests. She wrote, but
you had to know the code.
You had to know the code. So the thing was, not everything was in code. So when after she died, and a male family member found like 27 journals, he hid them in the wall of the house, and they were eventually found. And it took years to decode those things, and that's when they started getting all of this information about being a queer woman in England in the mid 19th century.
It's amazing what you can find within the walls of Victorian homes.
British people in England find things everywhere. They found a king under a parking lot. It's insane. People are digging in their backyard, and they're finding Roman coins and skulls, and
I picked a rock at the lake, at the river the other day, pulled it out of the water, and it fits straight in my hand perfectly. And it's like a shaving tool. I know, an Indian thing or Native American thing.
It's funny. Shaving was what I was going to bring up.
Are we going to go into that?
I saw a picture of a Victorian bathroom with the little straight safety razors that were just coming around at that time, and there was just a slot to dispose of them, and it just went into the wall.
We had those here. I lived in a house that had one of those one time. Yeah,
and it has there's just huge safety razors from 100 years on, full in that wall.
Yeah, it's a huge hazard for people who are remodeling really old homes. If you see that thing that's there, and luckily that's still there, so you know what to expect. But sometimes those are covered up, and then you rip out the wall and just razors all the way down.
Shot right now.
Huh? It's so bad. It's like, see, Rita has safety razor slots in her bathroom. It's old houses. They are there.
I had never seen that before, and it still boggled my mind. Shove crap in the wall. Who cares?
Because someone on Reddit, I remember there was a whole Reddit thread about it, because someone had asked, what is this thing that's in this house that I got? And all these people were like, and they started showing pictures of walls ripped out with just piles, just waiting for someone to get tetanus or, type. I don't know. It's bad. Yeah. So like I said, they generally now, going on the age of the home, they will be careful when ripping out bathroom walls, because it is very likely that was in there. Yeah.
That's nuts.
And that's a, like I said, that's a safety hazard that I think, as far as I know, requires very specific cleanup protocols. Because how the hell do you throw that? I mean, how do you wrap that up enough that someone is not going to hurt themselves? You just take it to the dump and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Nobody else's problem.
Well, you know what? Never mind. This is Texas, because I have a sharps container for all the injections I have to take, and I've been told that when I'm done with it, I seal it up with duct tape, write sharps on it, and just toss it in the trash. I mean, I was like, really? But yeah, that's what I do. I just make sure you can't get past the duct tape, and then put it in the garbage, which freaks me out.
Rita says Kevlar gloves in a glass jar.
Basically, yeah.
She's practicing witchcraft. I know what that is right there.
She's making a bulletproof golem.
Weird stuff, man.
So one of the things I found interesting, although not new information, but the Victorians were under the impression that women could not enjoy sex. That's not really a thing. And men in most in most cases of the nobility or the gentry, are likely to have never seen a naked woman before their marriage. I heard
Even during their marriage.
Sorry?
Even during your marriage.
Yeah, sometimes during.
Well,
Clothes
I did hear a story of a man who married a woman, and after their wedding, they came to the wedding bed, and she took off her clothes, and he looked and said, "What the hell? I can't do that."
Oh
And
no!
that was it.
No, where did you read that? Oh, no.
I'll find the documentary.
So sad.
They're like, nope.
No. I mean, and like I said, that comes from this revisited idea of women as pure beings of creation, like they're all, the Virgin Mary, and these children, came from somewhere, but we're not going to talk about that. And obviously, I mean, for one thing, we need to just veer into one thing real quick. If you really want to believe that the Victorians were sexually repressed, consider the sheer amount of Victorian pornography that is still, when cameras were invented, they got busy quick with the cameras. I mean, it's...
You know who was into Victorian pornography?
Most of the Victorians.
Queen Victoria.
Well,
Victoria and Albert were super into erotic art, and she had paintings done of herself of the time, not like nudes, but like naked shoulders and her hair undone over her shoulder, and
sexy.
Today that's like, okay, that's a picture, but that was tawdry, and that was something that they kept in their private quarters, in their private life, but they liked having erotic art, erotic of the period around. They like to see it, they like to do it. The one thing she didn't like about it is having to have babies with it. Blah.
I mean, especially when you're having so many. But like I said, the rumor is that at least one of them was a werewolf and one of them was Jack the Ripper. So
wait, what?
Of her babies.
Please, go on. What?
Jack? I think we lost Jack.
No,
no, there he is. You were not moving. I thought you were frozen. Oh my God.
He's still in shock that he's a lesbian cross-dresser named Gentleman Jack.
I'm telling you, watch the show. It is amazing. Anyway, there's stories that there's some, and everybody's gonna go, that was in a Doctor Who episode. Actually, the werewolf stories that's why the Doctor Who episodes started. The werewolf stories existed before that, but also it was one of her sons that was not well, that had mental health issues and possibly syphilis, and so there was some suggestion that one of her sons was Jack the Ripper. But I mean, they don't. Literally, at this point, you could name anyone that was in or anyone that was in London at that time, because odds are. So yeah, that was one of the stories. But part of her reputation, I mean, besides colonizing the entire world, part of where her reputation comes from is because after he died, she went into black and she never came out of mourning. 40 years in mourning, and so she seemed to people who maybe didn't know about the relationship before and only knew her after he had died, because like I said, she reigned for another 40 years. So she wore black all the time. She mourned him deeply, but she seemed buttoned up and, no sense of humor, because, she's queen and she's sad and mourning her lost love. So that's where some of the impression about her comes from. And there's a lot of things that can be said about her that aren't great, but she did seem to love her husband. Really, really did love him.
Yeah.
So.
And after you have such a relationship that you expect to last for the rest of your life, and it's suddenly cut short, that's something you don't easily get up from.
No, I mean, especially for a political marriage. to have that depth of feeling. It's fascinating, and it's it's most regular marriages don't have that. So I mean, obviously things are different now, but back then, you could find that, and I'm sure that was a love story for a lot of young girls back then. Oh, the queen found her love, and then
Now, in time, she did find the company.
that's
I'm not trying to say this in a winky, winky, naughty, naughty way, but she
the
found
rumor.
pleasant company in another man,
Yeah,
a Scotsman named John Brown.
there's a movie about it, and it's
Was
really good.
her personal attendant. He was gruff and unbathed and smelly
He was
and
Scottish.
cliche Scotsman.
Yeah.
But I'm sure like no one wanted to be around, but she found him apparently adorable. He was funny. He made
put him in your pocket.
crack jokes and ripped farts and whatever it is Scotsman did, and she apparently found that to be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, there's a movie about that with Billy Connolly and Judi Dench.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is good.
Yeah, I think it's called Mrs. Brown, maybe.
Oh dear.
But maybe not. I
think
could
I've
be
seen
wrong.
this movie.
I can't remember the name of it, but like I said, it's Judi Dench and Billy Connolly, and it's excellent. So it's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, it was a Victorian era was weird. And one of the things that I looked up that I had forgotten about until I was thinking about things to pull up for this was the Victorian language of the flowers that also got really popular in that era. Sending secret missives, and there was also not just the flowers, but was it fans that, and I'm not sure how old that is. I think that's also Victorian. The different things that your fan means when you're waving it, if it's in front of your face or what you're doing with it. So yeah, there was all sorts of weird little secret flirtatious things that they would engage in that was I'm sure heightened all of the tension.
We went into flower language some years ago on this show now, but you could just as easily tell someone very rude, and you could snub them very easily with your choice of flowers. That was funny.
Big on symbolism back then. Rita, as far as I know, twice, but I think there may have been more. But I know she's portrayed Victoria at least twice, I think.
Yeah. Rita asks, how many times has Judi Dench portrayed Queen Victoria?
Yeah. So. Sorry, I forget to read it out. Yeah, it's been a couple of times.
Another thing I found interesting I hadn't heard before was that the idea of manliness or manhood was to repress yourself, to also not pursue sexual engagements, and instead to go sports. Sports became much more popular.
Mm-hmm.
So like physical activity and just getting your energies out in some other kind of way that wasn't
something a little more productive to society, maybe.
And also it was considered very manly to grow a beard, like the fuller, bigger
very
beard,
virile. Yeah,
to show your virility while you're out doing sports and not hitting on women, because that would be weak and uncouth. So I thought that was interesting. I had not heard that before. You had any insight on that?
What it immediately puts me in mind of is the Marquess of Queensberry rules for boxing. Back when they used to just stand there and hit each other instead of actually moving around. They're just,
there and punch each other.
Just punch each other in the face, which, I mean, British warfare was also everybody line up and shoot each other, and then the other side will shoot each other in a line, and it'll all be very gentlemanly as we kill each other. So, but yeah, that's
Jumping out of the way. What are you, a coward?
Hide behind a
Rules of
tree.
war.
What? That's some.
gentlemen's rules of engagement. I mean,
I remember
if it was
hearing
British
about
fighting
I
against,
remember hearing about a style of German dueling with this big, claymore sort of saber, and each of the gentlemen would stand next to each other, I don't know, back to back or something, and they would just wave their swords around their heads, trying to whack the other guy in the face.
Wait, back to back they're doing this?
I'm not really sure where they stood, but it was touching each other just at the shoulder, that kind of close, and you're just trying to beat the other guy while he beats you
Oh my
with a
god,
bladed implement.
that's terrible.
And
Unsurprising, but terrible.
it's a show of manliness to have great big facial scars. I was like,
Oh
that
my
sounds kind
Apparently.
of like this boxing thing, yeah.
That's why I got hit in the head
Masculinity.
a couple times last year, working on my manliness.
I wonder how many people lost bits of their ears. Oh my god,
You don't need 2 ears.
that's not manly.
I'll just lose an eye and it looks
Rax,
sexy.
no, sir, get back. You get back, sir. Sorry, I'm being
Never
invaded by a large orange cat.
Asked, what Victorian manners for counting? I don't know if she means courting, would be good for us in the atomic age, in your opinion? I
Or
think
if-
a lot of our manners sort of harken back to Victorian and earlier periods. It really hasn't changed a whole lot.
I beg to differ. I think setting a table is an exceedingly important thing back in the Victorian era.
Mhm.
And my mother's house. That is, other than that, it's plastic forks and paper plates for me now. But
Hey, it's important for me when I have people over. If you've ever read any Edith Wharton, you will understand how important that table setting was in that
oh no, my mother,
period.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's
with courting,
yeah,
more
with courting.
particularly.
Yeah, the courting part.
I watched a little video today that I thought had some good advice among a number of things. As a woman, never accept a gift from a man because a gift would lead to another gift and to another gift, and suddenly you find that the man has developed feelings for you that you did not intend. And I was like, okay, well, how would that apply to today? And I was thinking about, being in a bar.
Someone buying you drinks in a bar.
And the drink guy, it's like,
Nope.
yeah, don't bother getting a drink from a guy. He'll never leave you alone, which is kind of what they were saying, right?
I mean, it's the idea that anything that you do implies a level of obligation in response to what has been proffered to you. Whether you're going on a walkabout with someone, or for some it might have been walking to church with someone, or sharing a pew together, or there's a level of societal obligation in what you, and the navigating that. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine dating now, and I've only been I've only been with Matt for 13 years. I can't imagine what it was like trying to navigate that back then.
Yeah. If you were to just, walking with someone in the street or sitting in the same pew, rumors would start spreading that you were engaged to be married.
Or
It's
you'd
just be
been
assumed.
improper. Yeah.
They were speaking in the street. I don't know that that's applicable today. That seems a bit over the top.
I mean, that's hard for me to. And it's a good question, but it's also, like you said, as far as gifts go, not accepting gifts but the expectations were so different back then, and what you could and couldn't do was so different. You couldn't go and just meet somebody in a bar for a drink. And meeting someone new was, especially if you were upper class, it was a lot different. You met people because you were introduced to them by other people in your social class. Unless
I feel like that happens today. I don't go to bars and simply walk up and introduce myself to people. I find that super scary. I know other people much more adept at it, but being at parties and being introduced to someone by a friend in common, that seems still much more comfortable now than it would be, the only way. But yeah, that seems easier. That guarantees that you have some things in common, groups of friends in common, possibly common interests, which was sort of what you were looking for then too, right? To be introduced to
Yeah.
someone. They've sort of picked out, okay, I think this person would go well with this person. Let's introduce them and see
Matchmaking was a big deal. But every once in a while the only daughter fell in love with the stable hand. I mean, things happened, but not all of women daughters weren't always on the auction block, but depending on how much money that family had, she might be. It's just it's not unheard of. It's how it was for a very long time, and in some places it still is.
It was not unheard of although it was presumed a girl would be a virgin at her wedding. That wasn't necessarily, in fact, the case.
Not all the time, I'm sure. I mean, those girls did have a tendency to be watched like hawks, though. I mean, young women had chaperones wherever, generally, like I said, at a certain level, if you're, if you're a merchant class or whatever, and you were working, that was one thing, if you were a shop girl or whatever, but at a certain level, you didn't go anywhere outside of your parents' view alone. You had chaperones, you had aunts who were taking you around, you had your friends, you had the older unmarried or widowed friends who were experienced and would escort you around. So being alone in the company of a man at a certain level of society didn't really happen.
Well, that's why it was so convenient to have that staple hand there, where you were just going out to take a ride on your horse for the day, and he's there. I mean,
the sexy staple hand in his breeches and riding boots.
Rugged and unwashed.
At that point in time, he's got to make sure you have ugly stable hands. If you have a daughter, have very ugly stable hands.
Craggy, manly, rugged features.
Considering the difficulty in finding it quiet time to meet a man, maybe the expectations aren't that high.
True. He thinks I'm pretty and we're alone.
They just
courting for today's age. You know what? I've really liked calling cards.
I actually, yes.
A bit. Business cards are so boring.
Victorian Trading Company makes calling cards, and they are so beautiful. Yeah, I had some when I was a teenager because that's how old that company goes back. Yeah, when I was very romantic. Yeah, calling cards are a lovely tradition.
Unfortunately, it's inappropriate for a woman to send calling cards to a man. It has to go the other way. But we're talking about today's age. The heck with it, right?
Oh, today's age is now COVID. You don't hand anybody anything. Unless it's literally hand sanitizer with the cap open and you're already squeezing it.
So, put your calling card on the sanitizer?
No. It's got to be written in the goo as it's falling out. It's got to be the bubbles inside as it's landing in your hand. You got to take, and the other person can take a picture of it. QR codes.
There's
the new.
That's the new calling card. QR codes.
New calling card's a QR code.
Yeah. Well, apparently that's the new menu in every restaurant I've been to in the last 2 years.
That bothers me. I don't like that.
Yeah, and my phone never wants to.
Right.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Letter writing is something that's gone completely out the window. I hate letter writing, but I think it's a really cool thing.
Yes, I think it is beautiful. I think it is lovely. I have a friend that loves to handwrite letters. I can't do it.
I'm not good either.
Yeah.
But also my handwriting I don't feel is very good. And the Victorians on the TV when they're writing their letters, it's so beautiful.
Because
Keanu Reeves in Dracula, Keanu Reeves had such glorious handwriting. How could I measure
He
up
was
with that?
glorious all the way in that movie. I don't care what anybody says about him, even when they messed up
that
his.
movie. That movie, he still is glorious. He's just gotten better.
No, I'm talking about people made fun of him in that movie, but I thought he was delightful, even when they kept messing up the way that because his hair was sometimes it was all gray, sometimes it was salt and pepper. It kind of went back and forth, but
Well, the powder kept falling out.
no, I mean,
people like to make fun of Keanu
It's the
Reeves.
potion that he drinks in the morning, just washing out the gray.
perfect. He is a
Yeah.
perfect human being. I love him. But yeah, letter writing, I mean, it's very romantic and I would love to be able to do it, but the best I can manage is a skillfully worded text message. And
Every
even
time
that's
I
kind of
start
hard.
handwriting a letter, I mean, first off, it usually starts typing, and I know Fax has gained some of our handwritten letters from Steam Chest every now and then, but I every time I start actually like doing one, it always starts off with like that whole like Civil War reenactment.
Dear Martha,
My dearest Lex, and before like it's just like start funneling into like those Civil War reenactment moments on the History Channel where they like show someone writing and then they have the narrator talk like the guy's talking. And, I'm afraid that we're going to catch dysentery and die. This might be my last letter.
like everybody was doing on Twitter at the beginning of the pandemic. Everybody just kept doing their Civil War reenactment letters. As that caught on for, and then the sea shanties.
So when I was
caught
reading
on
that, I'm like, finally, I'm like in vogue for like 5 minutes.
Oh, Deborah suggests waltzing is a good thing. That would require people to learn how to dance.
I can help with that.
I can
My
two-step.
father loved the polka, and the polka is just waltzing very fast.
Even John Candy could polka.
I know how to Texas two-step and Cotton Eye Joe, and that's about it. So.
Lex teaches dancing. She teaches like what? Over how many forms of dancing? 12? Yeah, 12.
Nice.
So all different types of like everything from 2-step to 18-step. For people with 18 steps.
I wish in steampunk events or cons with a steampunk track, they had some sort of, short introduction to some sort of dance class that they could slip in there. That would be fun.
That sounds like something they'd have at Dragon Con on the alternate history track at Dragon Con.
Lex actually says that she would love to run a panel for like teaching people to dance at a convention in their gear.
I think that would be great. I don't know if it would be popular. If I think things are great, they're probably not popular, but
that's
just
what I was
because.
With. Well, I mean, honestly, of the things to think about, 90% of the time, you're right. With our age group, anything we think is cool is no longer fun. But the fact is, the thing we like to do is considered to be old already.
What, steampunk?
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, steampunk is old. It was an old thing that someone took and said, let's make this a new thing. Let's throw some goggles and gears on it. And now it's like bobbing in and out of vogue all the time. So it's an old thing to begin with. So it all works out. But,
it all comes out in the wash.
Yeah, all comes out in the wash. But that actually would be really fun to do. And she's a really great teacher. And is one of those things of especially lately, she's had a bunch of, I know we're off on a tangent, but we had a bunch of people who are getting married. And they needed like a lot of classes really, really fast to have like their dance thing. And so there's like a whirlwind where I didn't see her in the evenings and at all for like 3 or 4 weeks because she had like dance classes every day and like multiple ones. She's like, she'd go to work for all day and then she had 4 hours of dance in the evening. And, but yeah, no, she has these little good like isms and patterns for teaching people really little quick couple steps so that it makes anybody feel like they're good at it right off the bat and they look good.
What about, I mean, I don't know what her schedule's like, obviously, but I mean, that Galveston convention's coming up in April and he's looking for people to do stuff there. So
send me a link or information or something.
The Galveston, I think it was shared on Texas Steampunk.
Oh, it's that guy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that'll be
the controversial one.
Manufactured controversy that we will waltz away
from to get into that.
There's no news.
We're just going to waltz away from that.
Yeah, I was actually thinking even like Steampunk November might be a good kind of figure out the way to do that. Even I mean, we're still figuring out how we want to do that. If we want to have a table or not ourselves, because we still have a lot of Steam Chest stuff, and but I don't know. We'll see.
So y'all are going to be out there for?
We're for sure going to be there. I just
Okay.
don't know what capacity we're going to be there.
Okay, I'm
I
going
don't know
to.
if it's going to be
yeah.
fun or if it's going to be like we're also having work.
Matt and I will be out there. My best friend wants to come and bring her 7-year-old daughter. So,
Oh,
yeah,
love it, obviously.
yeah, it's going to be fun.
Guess who's supposed to be there?
Voltaire.
What's his name? Yeah.
Yeah, since he was his when the whole thing was canceled when the pandemic hit. Yeah.
It was so funny because we stay in the same hotel most of the time. So in the mornings when he's getting all dressed up to go out there, we had like a 45-minute conversation about Italian leather shoes, and over breakfast and on this like literally pancakes that are manufactured on a little conveyor belt. It's like this is the weirdest conversation to have in such a place, but it's okay. We slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
He is so about his shoes. His shoes probably cost more than my cell phone. And then
but damn,
when I saw him at the Steampunk November, it was a very wet, muddy, messy, disgusting weekend. And I'm like, oh no, your shoes.
Yeah, I remember that because I was wearing my big boots, and I was like caked.
All right, y'all,
we're up at the hour. Yeah,
yes, we are.
So what part of this we're going to talk about next time? There's a lot here.
There's a whole lot of. I mean, like I said, it's a many layered conversation, and we didn't get anywhere close to talking about any of it. But
I like there was questions about what sort of courting manners are worth keeping and applying to today. That's interesting. We could just go into that.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of directions we could go with this. Maybe we'll take it on the road and talk about more of it in coming shows. But at the moment, I want to thank our patrons. We are brought to you in part due to fairtreasures.com. Fair Treasures has a selection of Texas-made female-presented costumes and accessories for Renaissance fair and steampunk wear. It's also one-of-a-kind jewelry and alchemy jewelry imported from England. You can shop Fair Treasures at fairtreasures.com, spelled with E, Faire, treasures.com, or on Etsy. We're also brought to you in part thanks to Jenny and Ryan Shaver and Rita and Lawrence Allen. I know Rita has been watching the show tonight. Thank you, Rita, Jenny, Ryan, Lawrence. You can find us if you're not on Facebook right now. We're on Facebook at Texas Steampunk Connection. You can email us at texassteampunkconnection@gmail.com. Our podcast is texassteampunkconnection.podbean.com. We're on Twitter at GXSteamConnect1. And YouTube and Rumble through the Steam Chest subscription box. Our music is brought to you from thatsplat.com. So hopefully Facebook won't take it away from us again.
Yeah, Facebook. We're watching you.
But
this is going to YouTube.
I really enjoyed scratching the surface of the sexual mores of Victorians. Yeah, we'll definitely need to get into this more in the future. Do you guys have anything else to add tonight?
No.
I'm good.
Think about it for a second.
I'm full of sarcasm. I could continue, but we should not.
Yeah, Jack, you were particularly quiet tonight.
I'm just fascinated. I'm just like, oh, this is fun. Everything I have to say is not rated for this.
Yeah, that's trying to figure out how to phrase things. Yeah, that's okay.
Well, tune into us again in 2 weeks. Until then, mind your gauges.